What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. Before I begin, let me say thank you to all my Patreon supporters. Your support allows me to make more and better videos. I thought today we would take a look at a few of my Grand Admiral Thrawn items in my collection. I just received a graded comic that is a beautiful item, and I thought we would take this opportunity to show some of the books that are out there. One of them just got released. And I also have got an action figure here that I thought we would take another look at that's in my collection. So stay tuned for the comic that just arrived. But I have a number of different books written by Zahn, who is the creator of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Thrawn is one of my most favoritist characters in the expanded universe. And obviously, the original trilogy, the Heir to the Empire, this is, I believe, book 2, Dark Force Rising. I've got the other two, I just can't find them anywhere. But this is by Zahn as well. These came out, I think, bear with me, I can tell you really quickly when the original release date was for Heir to the Empire. Heir to the Empire is kind of a classic that, I'm trying to find the date here. This is really exciting, I know. 1992. So 1992 is when this one came out. So around 1990, 1991 was when the first book, Heir to the Empire, came out. But it's one of the classic expanded universe trilogies. And luckily, there was enough kind of furor related to Grand Admiral Thrawn that he's making a comeback. As you guys know, he was mentioned in Mandalorian Season 2 with Ahsoka. So he will most certainly be playing a major role in the Ahsoka spinoff series on Disney+. They've already signed the voice actor from the Clone Wars animated series to play Admiral Thrawn, so I'm excited about that. Now, I'm going to start off first with my expanded universe graded Admiral Thrawn. I've shown this on my video. I used to have, and I'm going to put up a graphic right now of it, I used to have also the Black Series in the red and black box, an uncirculated 9.0 version of Grand Admiral Thrawn. And you guys have seen in the background my graded Black Series SDCC exclusive. I'm not going to break that out now, but this graphic that I'm going to show you is from an old video that you can look up on my channel, and I will put a link to that original video. It's really old, just to warn you, so it's awkward. But that has a better picture of my SDCC exclusive. It's massive. It's graded 9.25 by AFA on the modern scale. And like I said, I did have the Black Series in the red and black box of Grand Admiral Thrawn. I sold that a long time ago just because I ran out of room. But this one I still have. This is the Expanded Universe on the Power of the Force 2 style card. These Expanded Universe, at least this one did, came with the 3D placing where you can break off the back of the card to make like a 3D playset. But this is probably the ugliest likeness of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Certainly not how I envision him. I think the way he is portrayed in these recent covers on the newer Thrawn series books, which we'll go over in a second, that is how I always pictured him. He just had kind of a more angular face. This likeness is much more, I don't know, he looks like a caveman, like a Neanderthal, and I don't think it does a great job of capturing how he really looks, in my mind anyway. And I think that the actor that Lars Mikkelsen, I can't remember how you say his last name, the guy that's playing him, he's much more in keeping with how he looks in these on these covers. But nevertheless, this is a nice item. This is 1998 Kenner Star Wars Expanded Universe Grand Admiral Thrawn, graded 9.0. I got this one graded myself. That's on the modern scale. The modern scale for AFA goes from 1 to 10. But, you know, it's still a nice item. And here is the back of the card, and you can see here where it gives you instructions for how to cut out the card back to make like a Death Star or a Chimera, which was the name of Thrawn's ship through most of the books. It looks like the kind of interior of the Chimera, but you know, pretty cool item to have. You know, late 90s and in high grade. So I've got that one on my shelf, one of my shelves for Power of the Force 2 related items. But this was the Expanded Universe, and not very expensive. You can find one of these in pretty good shape for 25 to 30 bucks usually. But Really nice. Now, let's talk briefly about the books before I show you my comic, and I'm going to shift my camera just over a little bit. We talked about originally the early 1990s trilogy, Heir to the Empire, which was also adapted into a comic series, and you know, the first issue, Heir to the Empire 1, is a highly sought after issue. Blacked Out Ewoks has a couple of those. You can go check out his channel to see some examples of that really highly sought after comic that has the first appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn. But these are the books. These are you know, fairly recent, over the last 2 or 3, 4 years. The first one, Thrawn, kind of dives into Thrawn's origin story and how he came into the service of the Emperor. I'm kind of refreshing my memory on this book right now. I started rereading it while I'm waiting for the latest release to arrive here, which should be arriving today, in which case I will splice in a quick segment just showing that book. Obviously, I've not read it yet, but this one, kind of after much fanfare and demand, he finally released a new book that kind of dives into Thrawn's backstory and origins in terms of how he came into the service with the Empire. It's a fantastic read. It dives into kind of his backstory with Eli Vanto, who is kind of his ensign and kind of assistant and translator early on, and plays a pretty major role. So this book is highly recommended. I've read it a few times now, and just kind of gives his backstory. From there, Timothy Zahn released a couple of sequels. This one, Treason and Alliances. I believe Alliances was the second one. This one has a couple. It's like a flashback. Part of it's a flashback. Part of it's current events with his interactions with Anakin Skywalker at the time, exploring a potential threat to both the Empire as well as the Chiss Ascendancy, where Admiral Thrawn comes from, the world he comes from, and then also in the current state where he's dealing with Darth Vader. So it's kind of a flash forward, flashback, and then back to current events. And I like this one the least of all of the newer releases. It's still a pretty good read. Don't get me wrong. I've read it a couple of times still because I'm a nerd. But I would say that of the books that I read, this one I think held my attention the least. I don't particularly like how they wrote Anakin's story arc. He just kind of comes across as a grumpy, bratty teenager, and maybe that's what he was. But I didn't particularly like this one as much as this one. This one was a great book, Treason. It kind of dives into another threat to both the Empire as well as the Chiss, and he also interacts with Admiral Arlani of the Chiss Army or the Chiss Navy, and so I bet she'll also play a pretty major role, is my guess, in the Ahsoka series. And she made her first appearance, I believe, in Thrawn issue number 6 in terms of the comics. And then finally, he also started, I believe, a new trilogy. And this one is this book came out last year. It's called Chaos Rising. It's an excellent read. Another one that I highly recommend. In terms of order, in terms of the ones I've read so far, I'm excluding Heir to the Empire, which is a must-read since that's from the 1990s. But of the newer books, I'd probably put this one number 1, this one number 2, Treason number 3, and then Alliances number 4. But read them all if you have an interest in Grand Admiral Thrawn. But this one was an excellent read, and the new one that's coming out it's called For the Greater Good. That came out today, or yesterday actually, and I'm still waiting on that one to arrive. It's supposed to get here today, in which case I'll splice in so you guys can see the cover photo for that. But all of these are highly recommended, especially if you're especially if you are a Grand Admiral Thrawn fan. Finally, let's take a look at my new arrival. This is a CGC graded comic. This is Marvel Comics. It came out in April of 2018. This is Star Wars Thrawn issue 1, a 9.8 grade. Paul Renaud cover art. It's awesome. And this kind of covers, this is covered mainly in this book right here by Timothy Zahn. The early parts of this book are covered in this comic. And so this shows him on, after he's been exiled by the Chiss due to his preemptive strikes against an alien threat which the Chiss do not believe in, and so they exile him. And so this kind of shows him infiltrating the Imperials that are on site to investigate his crash. And so this is the early scenes of this book, and just an awesome cover. Now there are different cover variants for this. This is probably the least expensive of the different cover variants. This is the standard cover. The most expensive is the Francisca Matina variant, and I'm going to put an insert here as I talk. The Francisco Matina variant is a 1 in 50 variant, and what that means is, for you non-comic collectors, for every 50 issues of the standard cover, one of that Francisco Matina cover was issued. So it's a much more exclusive cover and goes for quite a bit of dough. So that's the first one. The other cover variant is by, I believe, I'm going by memory here, Jake Ross. That is the animated cartoon style version of Thrawn from the Clone Wars and whatnot. And then the third one is the John Tyler Christopher action figure variant, which you guys obviously know him if you collect comics. He does a lot of comic covers with what looks like the figure inside of a Kenner style packaging. So those are the three other covers that I'm aware of. There might be others, but those are the ones I know of. And this one is the standard cover, so the least expensive. In terms of cost, this one I actually got a pretty good deal on. It dipped down to below it dipped down to about, this is all for 9.8 grades, by the way. I do everything on 9.8 since that's what I have here, but apples to apples comparison. But this one dipped down to about $140 a couple of months ago. All Star Wars comics graded kind of dipped down for about a month or two, dating back to, I think, early March. And that's when I picked up my first appearance comic of Dr. Aphra, which I've shown in another video. I couldn't get both, but this one did dip down to about $140. It's since skyrocketed back up in price. It went back up to $180, and then $200, and then $225, and then $250, and I think one of them just sold at $280. So it's jumped way back up in price. But this one was listed on eBay, and as some comic book sellers will do, they will, as part of the photo slides for the item that's for sale, they will include a photo of their website address. And it's a hint to buyers that, hey, if you want to go check it out on the website, it'll be cheaper. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes the price is exactly the same, in which case I'm not incentivized to use them off eBay. But to avoid eBay fees and taxes and things like that, you can go to their website sometimes and it'll be cheaper. So this one, I went to their website. It was herotrader.com. Herotrader.com. He sells comics. I highly recommend him. He shipped this one double boxed, and it was also free shipping for any item over, I believe, $100. And this was listed for $40 less than on eBay. And on eBay, you also had to pay taxes and you also had to pay shipping. But if you went to their website, it was $40 less, no taxes, no shipping. So I probably saved about $60 by buying it directly from herotrader.com instead of buying it on eBay. And I don't mind sharing what I paid for it. I paid $200, $199.95 shipped is what I paid for it. So, like I said, they've been selling anywhere from $250 to $275, $280 on eBay in auctions. So when I saw this go for $200 or listed for $200, it's not a steal of a deal, but it's not like what it was 2 months ago. But it's still less than the going rate right now for this comic. So you might still get lucky if a bunch all get listed at one time. You might be able to get it for less than what I paid, but I doubt it. With eBay fees and taxes and everything, it's just in auctions they tend to still go pretty high. But I live in a state where it's 9.25% sales tax because we don't have a state income tax. So to buy stuff on eBay right now is really expensive. So I try to avoid it when I can. And so that's just a tip. If you happen to see something on eBay, but one of the photos for the item lists the website, go check out the website to see if it's cheaper. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. In this case, Hero Trader listed it for quite a bit less. It was about, like I said, about 50 or 60 bucks less by getting it through him. But just an awesome comic. This is one I've been wanting for a while now. Josh, who is a Patreon supporter, he knows that I've been wanting this one for a while. I also want to get a few others, but this is one that, given the price it was listed at, I couldn't say no. It's just an awesome, iconic cover. And I think that Thrawn has got a big future ahead of him in the Disney Plus universe. So that's really all I had. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave comments. Let me know what you guys think about Grand Admiral Thrawn. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe for future content, and thank you for watching.